It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today and do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. Today's live show brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales, online at archerpurdue.com. Big show lined up for you today. We are going to talk about the pickups contest that gets kicked off tonight. Well, I mean, we're hoping it gets kicked off tonight. All racing and sports activities throughout the United States seem to have issues this week and weekend.
It's like Joe's indoor karting, keyword being indoor.
Yeah, that's not going to get rained out. Yeah. Although it might get flooded out with as much rain as we've had.
I'm telling you, it was nuts last night.
But turn number one, we're going to recap. We're going to get you set for the pickups contest coming up. That's, again, starting tonight. So you got about, 10 hours to get signed up. I think the green flag is scheduled to drop at 6 o'clock tonight.
Great prizes again, getting that Crewman for a day with Starcomm. Do we know who that driver is yet?
Nope.
I'm going to go out on the limb and say it's probably about a 90% shot it's Landon Castle because he's been in a one car almost every week for him. So that would probably be a pretty good guess. And then, the second through fifth, they're going to get some tickets to the races. Yep. And
we'll cover more of that coming up in turn number one. Then turn number two, Stan Cisar, the voice of Eagle Raceway, will join us to recap the races that have been able to get completed at the RaceSaver Nationals, which was Thursday night's practice and Jake Ida Race of Champions. And then we will recap Friday night's action, which we got a full bill in. No issue there. Well, we had a couple of rain delays, but not very long on Friday night. And then not able to get the races in last night, so they are going to reschedule those events for today.
Hey, by the way, did you get an interview with Noah yesterday, by chance?
Noah?
Yeah.
Oh, no. He was too busy ushering animals onto the ark. Couldn't get that in. Turn number three. We'll talk about some NASCAR news and notes, and then turn number four, we'll get you set for Darlington again tonight, the Southern 500. Probably becoming one of the favorite races on the NASCAR Cup Series scheduled because of the throwback theme they've been doing for the last couple of years.
Oh, some of those are just awesome, and when they unveiled Austin Dillon's throwback on the 3-car, that was just fantastic. I mean,
Is he the winner
that gave
of the
me
weekend?
goosebumps.
Is he the winner of the weekend?
As far as throwbacks, yeah. But, I mean, there's a lot of good ones. Another one, a personal favorite of mine, was Spencer Boyd's 76 car, which was a throwback to Bobby Dotter's father, who was an ARCA champion. So, that kind of had some neat meaning. And the track just has so much history.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's talk about this pickups contest. Dirk kind of alluded to it a little bit. We do these a couple of times a year, and it's a short 5-week contest that is absolutely free thanks to Rick Haven Ridge of Wealth Partners, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. You can find out more at truewealthpartners.com. The way this works, send us an email, frontstretchradio@gmail.com, or log on to NASCARpoolsonline.com, all one word. Your pool ID is going to be KS Fall 5 Week, and then your password is going to be Wealth Partners. It is a closed pool so that we don't have a bunch of people from all over the United States joining it. We want it to just be our friends here locally that can go to Kansas Speedway and win this contest. Typically, there's going to be about 70, 85 people that are going to be in the contest. It's 5 weeks, kicks off tonight at Darlington, and it goes until the Charlotte Roval, which will be the final race on the schedule. That then gives you 2 weeks to get your plans in order for the Kansas Speedway race weekend. And
the Charlotte race isn't the final race on NASCAR's schedule. It's the final of our 5 races in the contest. So, but the Kansas trip is fun. Like I said, anybody that's won one of these contests has just had a blast. And the people at Starcomm are real nice to us and hang out with the cars. You'll get to see, all the things you hear about on Sunday when they talk about cars having trouble in tech and stuff. You'll be able to see that all firsthand. We'll explain as much of it as we can to you because so much has changed since I did that stuff back. 2005 was my last season that I did any of it. So much of it's changed since then. But
you're still going to get the exclusive access. And, we talk about exclusive access. A lot of times you could buy in and get garage passes. but you don't get the access to the teams and the interaction with the teams like we can give you. You don't get the tour of the inspection lines and to talk to some of the officials and kind of pick their brains a little bit, because they're very open about what's going on. And you'll even be able to run into series directors and car owners, team owners, sponsors.
Maybe
you can
a
run
track
into.
president.
Yeah, there's a lot of different people that walk around that we're going to be able to get you access to, and it's a very exclusive thing that, frankly, the only other way you're going to get access to this kind of a thing is to pony up and sponsor a Cup Series team. However much that's going to run you, if it's going to be $50,000 or $75,000 for a team like Starcomm Racing, or if it's going to be closer to $150,000, $200,000 for a Joe Gibbs Racing team. Whoever knows how much that bill is. But that's the only other way you're going to be able to do it. So if you got that money, I encourage you to heck with the contest. Give some money to NASCAR. They could definitely use it. But come on over and do this. It's absolutely free to join. Again, thanks to Rick Haven Ridge of Wealth Partners. The way it works is really, really simple. Put your pick in for the Brickyard 500, the Southern 500, the Brickyard 400, the race at Las Vegas, the race at Richmond, and at the Charlotte Roval. And one driver, you can only pick him once during the 5 weeks. You pick one driver per race, and it's got to be the driver you think is going to do the best. And that's really kind of turned up on its head the last couple of years. When we started this contest, I used to say it's the driver you think is going to win the race, because the driver who won the race usually 99% of the time got the most points. That's not the case anymore. Probably about 5 to 8 races a year, the guy who wins the race doesn't necessarily have the biggest points day.
Yep. Somebody beat him because those stage points now, you can have 20 points, which is half the winner's total. So, well, I think, didn't we one time see the winner just get 40 points? He had nothing in the first 2 stages. Yeah. Nothing. Wasn't in the top 10 at either stage.
Yeah, that's happened a couple times. You talk about, in order to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship, in order to win a racing championship, whether it be NASCAR or dirt track, it's got to be consistency. And that's even been microed down to even the single race. You can't start in the back and work your way to the front nice and steady. You got to start in the front. You got to be in the front. You got to win in the front. And that way you have a big points day that helps you as you get into the end of the year and into the playoffs.
Yeah, now we did have one picker. I think it was the first contest this year. We had roughly 70-some-odd people, and I think after week 1 he was like 58th. Mm-hmm. But ended up in 5th place. He didn't win, but he still got tickets for the weekend. But his first pick kind of fizzled, but then he rock and rolled. Mm-hmm. So, but the contest will normally go, and I think that was the same contest after week 1. There was 21 people tied for first place, I think. Yeah. And then after the second week, it was like 16 people, and then after the third week, it was like 7 people. So, there's enough people, and let's face it, everybody's after the top 5 or 6 drivers. Mm-hmm. You can only pick the driver once in the 5 races. So it's what order do you pick these guys in?
Right. You got to make sure and maximize your points each and every time. When it used to be a lock that when you went to Charlotte, you picked Jimmy Johnson. Well, now we're not racing on the Charlotte Oval. We're going to be racing on the Charlotte Roval. And that's really going to be, I think that's going to be the biggest wild card race of this contest, because like we talked about last weekend's show, you don't know exactly who to pick for this race because we don't have any history. And on top of that, the road course racers, you got your Brad Keselowski's, your Denny Hamlins, your Kyle Busch's, AJ Allmendinger. Every once in a while, he peeks in there and he does really well. But you don't know how these guys are going to react on the Roval because they've had a couple of practice sessions and they've modified the track a couple of times because these guys are finding little secrets. Are they going to find one the day we run it? Or are they going to be locked down and they're going to have to pass the old-fashioned way? You never know what's going to go on with that race.
Well, and we also ended the contest. We could have moved the contest back and not started at Darlington and finished at Talladega. But, again, that's another wild card race, and we figured just having one of those in with the Roval was going to be plenty.
Yeah, and I've talked about it 100 times. I'm not a big fan of the super speedway in the playoffs, because it just seems to take too much control out of the driver's hands and you're too dependent on other people around you, which is a factor in racing overall. I mean, you can get taken out by a lap traffic car. You can get taken out by debris on the track. I mean, there's uncontrollable factors. But I understand why it is. It's a part of the schedule, so it needs to be in the playoffs. And that's frankly the reason why we have a road course in the playoffs now, is because fans love Watkins Glen and Sonoma. And so then they took out the Charlotte regular race. They put in the Roval. And now we've got a road course race that is a part of getting into the playoffs. Now it's a part of winning the championship too.
Well, I'd like to get down to Kansas Speedway one time and see if they're still running anything, an SCCA race or anything on their road course, because they have that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, NASCAR's starting to listen to the fans, the ones that are left, unfortunately, and I think they're trying to get away from all these mile-and-a-half cookie-cutter tracks. Yeah. I really do.
The testament to that is going to be when they announce the 2021 schedule, because all their current contracts with all the tracks go through 2020.
Yeah, and even some go further than that, but a vast majority of them do end. Mm-hmm. In the 2020 years. So.
That'll be the real test to see what power they have left and what they can do, because they're kind of in a box right now where I think that and it's their own fault. They've worked themselves into a box between ISC and SMI about all these different tracks and revenues and shareholder needs and yada yada yada, and eventually NASCAR is going to have to say, that's cute, guys. You've got your people you got to pay attention to, and you've got to answer to, but we've got a sanctioning body to run, and our fans are telling us, our fans, our drivers, our sponsors, they're all telling us we got to get back to short tracks.
Yep.
And I think that's when you're going to see Iowa Speedway get a race. I hope. I can't say for sure. Anyways, we got a little off track there again. Still join the pickups contest. Again, you're able to join until about 5 p.m. Central Time tonight. If you happen to sign up late, I could still get you entered into the contest until the drop of the green flag. You have to get into the contest before the drop of the green flag, or before the cutoff at 5 p.m. Central Time. After that, I don't think I can get you into it anymore because the contest is locked in. If you don't get your pick in on time, you can always email it before the drop of the green flag if you're in a little bit of a rush. But pull out your cell phones right now. The NASCARPoolsOnline.com is completely mobile phone friendly. And you can sign up mobile, desktop, tablet, however you want to, as long as you have internet access. Really simple stuff. Just make your pick and get it in before 5 o'clock today. If it happens to be after 5 o'clock, but before the green flag drops, you can always email me, frontstretchradio@gmail.com. Emailing it or messaging it on Facebook, posting it, that kind of stuff, that doesn't work. It has to be through email. I have to see the timestamp come across. Only other stipulations, you must be older than 18 or older, and you must be a legal U.S. resident. After that, it's free to have a fun time. And a lot of families do this. A lot of husbands and wives do it. Our last winners, Karen and RL, went down for the spring contest. Had a fantastic time. Holly and her husband went down for the Iowa Speedway contest. It's just a great, relaxing, exciting couple of days because you just get to sit and hang out with the team. You get food, you get fed, you get
plenty of fluids,
clothing. They'll usually give
swag.
you T-shirts, some stuff like that. And then you get free time to be able to go and roam around in the Companion Series garage, which is going to be the Xfinity Series for the October race. And you can go and meet. Maybe you could get an autograph from Elliott Sadler as he's on his retirement run. Maybe you can go and meet some of these other people that are running around. Some of your favorite Xfinity drivers or Cup guys that are down there that you can go and meet. So it's a great opportunity, and it's all provided by Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners. Again, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. Find them online at truewealthpartners.com. I think we're going to try to take a quick break, and we're going to get Stan Cisar on the line just as soon as I text him out the phone number, and we'll get him over here in just a few minutes to recap the first couple of days of the RaceSaver Nationals at Eagle Raceway. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
In a world where speed reigns supreme, where discipline and danger collide, unpredictability is the one thing you can count on.
Right front tire is down! They made contact! Several cars involved!
On October 21st, just one hero will triumph. No one knows which hero it will be.
Harvick is there! Harvick around the outside for the lead!
Critics are calling it an unscripted masterpiece. If you see only one epic event this fall, make it this one. Kansas Speedway is the only place you can experience this kind of hard nerve-pounding suspense. Witness a battle where drama lurks at every turn.
Kyle Larson rocketing out of turn number 2, and he'll pass 4 cars in 2 turns.
Coming soon to a track near you. The Hollywood Casino 400 Playoff Elimination Race, only at Kansas Speedway, October 21st. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
Dan and Dirk are rolling into turn 2 with a little attitude on the front stretch.
Welcome back into it. You're listening to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting. I'm Dan Taylor. My co-host over there, Dirk Houston.
That'd be me.
A lot of people have been joining the show recently saying, hey, you guys are doing a great job. We just found you recently, so
we're
welcome.
growing. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
If you guys haven't yet, we still have a couple of hats. I know we've got ours that we're sporting, our front stretch hats. We've got one that we got autographed from Thomas Weeks, who is the master of ceremonies for the
Grand
RaceSaver
Marshal.
Nationals this weekend at Eagle Raceway.
And an interesting guy to have a chat with.
Absolutely. Really nice guy. Apparently, security at Eagle Raceway does not know who Thomas Weeks is.
Yeah, they didn't know who I was either.
And I heard a rumor, I haven't got it confirmed yet, but I heard a rumor that the Lincoln police found out who Thomas Weeks was.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know that for sure. Again, I haven't got that confirmed. But
was he late getting to the track, or
I think
was that issue?
I think he was just enjoying every bit of horsepower underneath that Nova that he's driving around up here.
Nova.
Yeah, apparently he's got a beautiful blue Nova, which is that's a sweet spot for me. So I feel kind of, but you know, you speed, you get caught. What are you gonna do? But let's. I think Stan Cisar's joining us on the phone now, the voice of Eagle Raceway and the voice of the RaceSaver Nationals. Stan, how's that voice hanging in there for you?
Oh, it's hanging in pretty good so far.
I know you were worried about not having a backup voice last night. You know, you were talking about Billy Lloyd, the flagman, could always switch arms if his arm got tired, but you can't switch voices.
You know, there's a lot of racing on Thursday night with the probably 50 practice sessions and then the qualifying for the Jake Ida Race of Champions. Then we get into 14 heat races, and then you start back in a G feature and work our way all the way up to the A main event. And a lot of words come out of the old mouth last night.
Good words, though. Always good words. I wanted to kind of go through real quick. So because there's so many of these cars, and the way the lineup works is it makes it really, really simple for people. You roll out on your heat race, and if you win the heat race, you're in the A automatically. But if you finish second, you're in the B. You got to come out of the B. Finish third, you're in the C. Fourth, you're in the D, and so on from there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of variables there, you know, and you kind of talk about the luck of the draw just a little bit. You know, there's a lot of different formats and how to qualify cars for races. There's a lot of controversy. There's pro and there's con. This is really a pretty good format. I love the aspect that unlike other races, everybody that shows up gets a chance to qualify each night. You don't have to pick your night. They only run half the cars one night, half the cars the other night. You get two chances to try to qualify. Come up with a drawing system that you're guaranteed. You know, if say for instance we have for the most part 8-car heat races, and on one of your two nights you're guaranteed to start in the first 2 rows of your heat race, and on one of your 2 nights you're going to start in the 3rd or 4th row of your heat race. It's pretty equal for most guys. You know, the second variable is you could draw a qualifying heat that has maybe some less than the top cars that are here for this event, and you could draw a stacked heat race where there could be 4 or 5 cars capable of winning that heat race to make the A feature, and that really puts the pressure on. And you know, that's possibly some of the leads to some of the attrition that we had Friday night qualifying because the pressure's on.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 12 laps in your qualifying heat race to get to first if you want to be in that A, or at the very worst to get to second if you want to be in a B feature. You get in a B feature event, you're going to be in there with 20 other A feature winners or multiple A feature winners at their own local track from all over the country. And this is a tough deal. I'll tell you what, probably as tough, as just about anything we've ever seen or been involved with. But that makes it a great event for the fans. And I think they were treated to some great racing the other night.
A lot of times when you talk about the heat races, it's kind of guys feeling their car out. You don't really have to hang it out there too much because top 4, top 5 will go to the A. Some tracks don't have enough cars to even have a B, so you don't have to worry about that. So you're not really hanging it out there for the heat races. But I want to talk about one of the sprint heat races on Friday night that Nate Weiler finished in second, 0.4 of a second behind the lead. And that meant that he now had to come out of the B, and depending on where he started in his passing points, he may have to pass 10 cars in order to qualify for the A when he was only 0.4 away from the A in his heat race.
That's happened numerous times over the years.
Right. And that's, that kind of puts it into perspective a little bit, that these guys can't sit back and say, I'm running in second, I'm already qualified for the A, I'll be fine. No, because now they don't know where they're going to be in the B if they run second place. They don't know where they're going to be in the C, and things just keep getting worse from there. That they could, before they know it, they could be somebody like a Jake Bubach, a Stu Snyder, a John Carney who had issues on Friday night. Both of those guys did. That now they're coming out of the G feature, and I mean, you want to talk about a Cinderella story, and that's a rarity. Somebody come out of the G and qualify all the way up to the A. I mean, that takes a lot of work.
Well,
to my knowledge, I think. Excuse me, but I think that's only happened one time in any type of an alphabet soup type format like this. In Knoxville, Iowa, Doug Wolfgang one time, I think, started down in an F feature, which was their lowest feature that they had that year, and raced his way all the way up into an A main event. And I think he didn't win it. It wasn't that Cinderella, but he did get up, I think, into a top 5 finish. And what a show it was for the fans that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, normally, if you can come from a C or a D in a format like this, you've come a long way. And I think Stu Snyder done that a couple years ago, I think. But you could tell he was serious on Friday. He didn't leave anything behind, man. He was, I think he started 5th in his heat and 1 going away. He was very fast in his heat, and he knew I talked to him afterwards, and he said, I was set on kill tonight, and the car weighed enough, and I had the right fuel.
I went up to him after the race because it was kind of a little bit of a spoiler. He ended up finishing high enough to qualify for the A for in the first 9 starting positions, and I went up to him after the races, and I said, hey, who's that boy locked into the Sunday night feature? And he goes, that'd be me. And I go, oh, wait a minute, did you pass Tech? Yeah, I did. All right, then who's that boy locked into Sunday?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and that was great for Stu because, probably as tenacious of a competitor as there is out there is Stu.
And Stan, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that if I'm sensing this a little bit, maybe I'm late to the game, but I'm beginning to feel like this is quite a bit of a Nebraska versus Texas kind of a showdown. And,
we talked about that. You're going to hear this. I got the results. We'll give you a rundown of the results and the race winners and kind of where we're at in that A feature starting lineup for Friday night, which we've gotten in so far, and you're going to see that.
Yeah, and I'm a little worried about our Nebraska boys, though. I'm a little bit worried. Feels like we're getting a little outnumbered.
We got one good bullet in the gun that's going to be starting up there pretty far up in that feature, and he's won it before along with a couple other guys. But we can hang and bang. It's like they say in the ball sports. You come into our house, you're not going to come in here and beat us in our house. Well, it has been done, that's for sure. But we're gonna be as tough as anybody. And I'll tell you what, this RaceSaver 305 class in our area has evolved probably faster and to a higher level than what anybody I think ever expected. And I think probably us and Texas set the benchmark for the quality of competition in this deal. And I think, I may be a little bit biased. I love all sprint car racing, but I'll tell you, this is the real deal, and the competition is fierce. And the speeds those guys were turning, the other night, and the intensity of the competition, I think, was second to none.
Amen. Let's talk about some of the heat race finishes from Friday night. I know we had the Race of Champions qualifiers, but just for time's sake, let's run through the 14 heat race winners for the RaceSaver Nationals.
I know you've got that Race of Champions lineup. You can give that a little bit later, but we had 14 heat races. Kicking things off, heat race number 1 went to Zach Newland, car number 11Z. He's out of Morristown, Pennsylvania. In the second heat, it was our guy, Jason Martin, out of Lincoln, Nebraska, car number 5X, picking up the win. In heat number 3, another former RaceSaver champion, John Carney II, out of Lubbock, Texas, car number 11C, picked up the win. In the fourth heat was Justin Fifield out of Mesquite, Texas, in car number 17X. He had a great run, and he picked up the win. Heat race number 5 went to your current IMCA RaceSaver Sprint Car National Points leader out of Fort Worth, Texas, Kevin Ramey. Ramey's he's a veteran. He's been around for a lot of years. He's raced all different types of sprint cars. He's retired 2 or 3 times, and he keeps coming back. And this might be a career year for him. He had 16 feature wins. He picked up a couple track championships along the way. He's leading those national point standings, the weekly points series, and picking up a qualifying win and starting this thing from the pole position is huge in his eyes. We had kind of a surprise in heat race number 6, Casey Burkham out of Combine, Texas, car number 45B. Very, he was just there all weekend long, and bam, he was right on the tail tank of Kevin Ramey when they crossed the line in some heavy lap traffic when that checker flag flew. He picked up the win in heat race number 6. Another surprise, and on the other end of the spectrum from Casey, that was Claude Estes out of Godley, Texas. He picked up the win in heat race number 7. Estes has been around kind of like Ramey. He's from the Texas area. There was a hotbed of 360 racing for quite a number of years down there, and won a lot of races in that deal. But he and the whole family, he's got I think a brother and a nephew that are racing. And they bring 3 cars every year. I think they've made every RaceSaver Nationals for the 6 years. And he picked up the win in the 7th heat race. Heat race number 8, here's a guy no stranger to Eagle Raceway from Holcomb, Kansas, car number 45C, Luke Cranston. Cranston was a former track record holder. He's raced a 305 type sprint car as well as 360s throughout the Midwest. But with the United Rebel Sprint Series, which is now affiliated with RaceSaver, at one time they had their own rules and they kind of came together. He was a former track record holder, and he knows his way around the place. He picked up the win in heat race number 8. You prefaced Stu Snyder winning heat race number 9 out of Waverly, Nebraska. He's driving the KRL Racing Love machine down there, but he's got his engine in it. He's got a Myers Bullet there in the frame rails, and he had a fast race car. He picked up the win in heat race number 9. One of the favorites from Arvada, Colorado, Jake Bubak, in car number 74B. Now, this is a car owned by Ben Offill down in Lubbock, Texas. That's the car that John Carney won the Nationals with back in 2015. Bubak's been on fire in that thing all summer long. He picked up both nights of the Belleville 305 national event down there. He's won in the 360s in this area. He's won before at Eagle Raceway. He picked up preliminary night feature back when he was driving the family-owned car, and he's got a good ride there. And as Stu, the comment of the night last night during the rain delay, and I thought this was a great one. We're talking about how fast Jake has been lately, and Stu, tongue in cheek, he says, I think they ought to be doing a random drug test. I think he must be on steroids or something.
He's got to be. He's too fast.
He's got to be cheating somehow. But hey, the guy's got his stuff together. Jake can definitely wheel a race car. He's been wheeling a race car, from a very young age, getting into that sprint car division, and it's a racing heritage. His dad, Rich, raced for quite a number of years. I remember Rich racing with the World of Outlaws, and he picked up that win in heat race number 10. In the 11th heat, kind of another surprise. This youngster from Sheldon, Iowa, Colin Smith, car number 05. He's the regular season point champion up at the Park Jefferson Speedway up in Sioux City, Iowa. He picked up the win in heat number 10. In heat 11, in the 12th heat, Clint Benson out of Papillion, Nebraska, finally shaking off some of that Nationals bad luck. He's been a former national champion. He came out of the late model division, got into this sprint car deal when the RaceSaver class was introduced into this area, and he's been tough ever since. But he's just been off the game for the last couple of years, and he's been coming around lately, and he picked a good weekend to get it back up to the top of the spectrum. In sprint heat number 13, Dusty Ballinger, he's another veteran guy, second-generation driver out of Harrisburg, South Dakota. Car number 2D picked up the win. And in the final heat race, guy that's been coming for the last four, I think this is his fourth Nationals, and he's made it one time before out of Bloomington, Indiana, which is some 410 non-wing country up there. They introduced RaceSaver about 3-4 years ago, and Ethan Barrow, car number 14X, picked up the victory in that final qualifying heat race.
A lot of races that went on. They had to rework the track. We had a slight rain delay. And really, these guys got 3 different tracks that they had to compete on throughout the night on Friday night.
Well, I'll tell you, the first part of those qualifying heat races, and talk about getting thrown a curveball on chassis setup, and some people that we know missed it pretty badly in their qualifying heat race, but because it was a very tricky track, there was a lot of heat, a lot of sun, even though they had a lot of water on it. A lot of heat and sun, and the wind blowing from the west to east, blowing directly into turns 1 and 2. Turns 3 and 4, they've got some shade. There's a lot of trees. As the sun went down, they weren't getting the sun. The turns 1 and 2 were, and it was very tricky. They reworked the track, made it a little bit better. Then we had Mother Nature stepped in. We had a rain delay, and they got a brand new racetrack for the qualifying features that night, and that led to some great competition. In our F feature, Jason Danley out of Lincoln, Nebraska, he had some issues in the heat race, and he picked up the win. So the top 4 cars in that would transfer up into the F feature. F feature, going to another guy that's had some tough luck. If you've seen the internet, or probably even on your page, the Front Stretch page, Sean Pointer destroyed a race car 2 Saturday nights ago. A very vicious crash on the backstretch going into turn number 3.
Lucky to walk away.
He brought out a brand new race car. They worked hard for 2 weeks, got a new car together, and Sean picking up the win in that F feature. Top 4 cars once again transferring up into the E feature.
And that also included Marty Ferriera, Ryan Hall, and Dan Sacciano.
Yep. And in the D feature, it was car number 21K, another local guy, Ryan Kitchen. Kitchen's been formed an alliance with Butch Bade, who's Shaylee Bade's father. Shaylee off racing 360 division sprint cars in 2018, and Butch wanted to race at Eagle Raceway every Saturday night, and they put a team together with Ryan and Reagan Kitchen, another second-generation driver. His dad, Reagan Kitchen, raced at Eagle Raceway for a number of years and throughout the Midwest, and Ryan doing a great job. He picked up the win in that one. Nate Weiler came into the second spot, Tyler Thompson and Ryan Hall rounding out your top 4 finishers in that E feature. Top 4 in the E, moving up to the D. In the D feature, Scott Lutz out of Jonestown, Pennsylvania, picking up the win over Justin Welch. Ken Duke Jr. and Mark Pace had a great duel with my guy, Cody Ledger. Couldn't quite get her done. He picked up the final spot. We come up a spot short. And so those guys will move up into the C feature.
And let me interrupt real quick. I wanted to talk about a couple of things about Nate Weiler. First off, I think he's getting the most attention because he's got white wall tires on that sprint car. Very unique look, easy to spot on the track. But good job for Nate coming out of the E in the D. Although he didn't qualify, he made his way up, starting 16th up into that 8th spot. So and there's a lot of these examples. I'm only pointing out Nate just because it also coincided with his white wall tires, but a lot of guys making a lot of moves, and Cody coming up 7 spots, Nate coming up 8 spots.
We actually in that race, Nate, if I remember right, made a big move in that race. But that was from the E to the D. In our race, really, there wasn't much passing. Cody came from 12th to 5th, but the first 4 spots came out of the first 3 rows. So we had a pretty good car in that D, and that gives us some hope for the rest of the weekend. But C feature, Zach Blurton out of Quinter, Kansas, picking up the win. Joey Danley, one of the local guys, comes home in the 2nd spot. Robert Vetter, who won a qualifying feature in 2017 out of Wolf City, Texas, in the V8, and it was Michael Day. And Michael Day knows about coming up through that alphabet soup. He did it. He came from about the G main, I think, up to the C main last year, and made some pretty good moves. And when you were talking about when you come up through this alphabet soup deal, every feature that you progress into is going to have tougher competition than the guys you beat. Plus, you're going to be starting behind them all.
Right.
So that just makes it even tougher and tougher and tougher, and
you don't
even
have
more impressive.
You don't have a lot of time to work on your car. If you feel like the track's getting tighter, you don't have a lot of time to do that. Your crew goes to work, pulls the tire off, throws a couple of gallons of fuel in it, puts a new tire back on, and you're pushed off for the next feature.
Yep, that's a fact. That brings us up to the B feature. That was the last chance. We took 6 cars out of the B to move it up into that A feature because we had 14 qualifying heats already into the deal. We had to fill our 20-car field, so we took the top 6 out of the B, and picking up the win, the national champion in the IMCA Weekly RaceSaver Sprint Car Series, Andy Schaus out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, picking up the win in that one. He was joined by Tyler Druke. Druke, another one of our guys. He's a 3-time Eagle Raceway champion. He just picked up his 3rd championship here a couple weeks ago, finishing 3rd. Another former national champion out of North Richland Hills, Texas, Chad Wilson, in car number 20, finishing 4th. This guy has won 14 features in 2018, and he's out of Mustang, Oklahoma. That's Steve Shabester in car number 16S. John Ricketts out of Burlington, Texas, who was another champion, and Robert Vetter made one more move in that feature alphabet soup showdown. So he made it the final transfer spot up into our 20-car A main event. And boy, you look at the starting lineup. Wow, it's just amazing the quality of the competition that we had in that sprint car A feature. And there were 8 cars out of Texas qualified for the A feature on Friday night. 4 from Nebraska, 2 from Oklahoma, and 1 each from Iowa, Pennsylvania, Colorado, South Dakota, Indiana, and Kansas. Maybe a big event I think we got going here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big nationwide event.
And so the rundown in this one, there was close, tight, great competition all throughout the field. Looked for a while like Kevin Ramey might be going to get away a little bit. Then Eagle Raceway's personality shows up, lap traffic. They got into lap traffic, and as we said, you're racing against cars that are just as fast as you are. The leaders just don't blow by the 20th place car. They have to work to get through lap traffic. That allowed things to get pretty tight, and it was a race right down to the final checkered flag. Kevin Ramey picks up the win. Casey Burkham comes home in the 2nd spot out of Combine, Texas. Jason Martin, our guy, is going to start on the outside of row number 1. He's our defending champion. He won this race last year. Back inside that 2nd row, finishing 4th, is going to be Claude Estes out of Godley, Texas. Ethan Barrow out of Bloomington, Indiana, hanging around that top 5 all night long. He'll start in the inside. I should preface this. The top 9 cars in this A feature on Friday night, they start 3 wide in our first 3 rows of our 27-car championship feature coming up, hopefully this afternoon. Claude Estes will start on the inside of row 2. Ethan Barrow will start in the middle of row 2 and starting outside the second row out of Holcomb, Kansas, the 45C of Luke Cranston. In that third row, finishing back in the 7th position out of Morristown, Pennsylvania, Zach Newland, car number 11Z. And then we had 3 Nebraska guys duking it out for the last 10 laps for the final 2 transfer spots. And you just knew, it was a shame because, we're rooting for all our guys maybe to make the show. You knew one of those guys probably wasn't going to make it in. And Clint Benson comes home in the 8th position. And as you said, Stu Snyder picking up that the 9th and final transfer spot. He will start outside of row number 3. Tyler Drucke, by 0.2 of a second, finished in the 10th position. And unfortunately, Tyler will try to requalify again, hopefully, as I say again, this afternoon. So we've got the first 9 in the show. We've had some great racing so far. That brought us up to last night. And we had the 12 qualifying heat races began. Actually, we even started an hour early because we knew some weather was imminent.
About an hour early. About an hour early, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Picking up the win in heat race number 1, Ryan Hall out of Midlothian, Texas, car number 79V. Heat race number 2 going to Tyler Thompson. And those guys finished right next to each other, I think, in about the D main event or E main event on Friday night. So starting position means a lot. These cars, as we've prefaced that a lot when we're talking about the RaceSaver 305 division, there's a lot of equality in these cars and a lot of parity. And the neat thing about that is, it brings maybe just a little bit of luck of the draw into the deal. It brings in chassis setup. It brings in driver. It's a tough deal. And you can be in the E main event one night. You can be winning your heat race and making the A main the next night. We got 10 more E races to go. And I'll tell you what, though, I stayed at the track and it was a gully washer most of the night long. And I know they are already out there working on the track. They've got pumps pumping water out of the infield. They're getting the equipment ready, and they're going to thrash probably from now until 2 o'clock to try to get this thing in. Yeah, the plan today, grandstand gates open up at 1:30. Racing is scheduled to start at 2 o'clock. They're going to run the remaining heat races that were canceled last night. The remaining features that were, I shouldn't say canceled, that were postponed because of rain last night. So all of last night's races that were supposed to happen, minus the sport modifieds, will be racing today. And then, hopefully that'll get over with in about 4.5 hours. Then we'll move on to the regular scheduled night number 3 of the RaceSaver Nationals, remaining qualifying races, and then you get to your big dance.
And you mentioned the support classes. Everybody says, "Well, we got over 100 cars here. Why do we need support classes?" It's kind of neat, as you talked about when you're going from race to race to race to race, especially if you're trying to move up. It's kind of neat. A couple times somewhere in there, you're going to have just a little bit more time to be able to maybe make some changes on your cars and slow the pace down just a little bit, So, and usually we kind of restrict it to a couple heats and a feature in the support classes, but it's done for a purpose. It's done to give the sprint guys a little bit of a break, give them just a little bit more time and lessen the hectic pace a little bit. And we'll have one support class possibly in that secondary feature. And one of the main reasons, just for that fact, run like I say, from the F or the G feature where we'll start with. Unfortunately, we've had some attrition this week. So a few guys are not going to be back. The car count is down from what we started with at the beginning of the night on Friday, but we still, like in last night's show, we had over 90 cars competing in qualifying heats, plus the 9 cars that are already qualified, plus the cars that unfortunately can't make it back due to some crash repair or engine issues. But there's been a lot of things going on. You got to give a call to a couple guys that crashed on practice night or had some issues. There were 2 guys in particular putting cars together, and we got a downpour for about an hour on Friday afternoon. They were putting cars together in the pit area in the rain, and both of them got those cars done, and were able to make it back in their qualifying features and heat races on Friday night. In that A feature last night, big wreck about halfway through. Two of the favorites, Jake Bubach and John Carney II, got together, and it's two guys racing at 110% coming out of turn 2, and just wasn't enough room for two cars to fit there, and unfortunately both of them got upside down, and Carney in a pretty heavy way, and they took that car back. I heard they did some major chassis repair over at Jason Martin's shop on yesterday afternoon, but he's back and ready to race his way back into that lineup, or attempt to when we get things resumed down here.
Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway. Always do appreciate your time. You will be back in action tonight today, starting at about 1:30 as they kick off the action to make up last night's rained-out events and to continue the RaceSaver Nationals. Get more information at the Eagle Raceway Facebook page. Stan, always do appreciate your time, sir.
Let's hope so. If not, we might be back here on Monday.
Might be. All right, we'll see you, bud.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
You too.
And we're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 3 on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 3, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race October 21st are available now. Green flag set to wave at 1 o'clock that Sunday afternoon, and that is going to be another elimination race. What we've noticed really quickly with this playoff series is that those elimination races are high action races because everybody has got to get the last that they can get in order to move on to the next round for the playoffs and continue to contend for the Cup Series championship. Get your tickets today at KansasSpeedway.com. We are just 49 days away from this race. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Get your weekend passes. Action starts Friday night with the ARCA Series, then continues Saturday afternoon with the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Kansas Lottery 300, and then it wraps up Sunday with a Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Hollywood Casino 400. Get your weekend passes or single-day event tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
If this is on your bucket list, go ahead and get that thing knocked off. I mean, you got to go to a live NASCAR race if you're a race fan. That's all there is to it. Great facility. The fact that you can go down and mom and dad go down and buy 2 tickets to go to the Xfinity race on Saturday. You take 2 kids under 12 in for nothing. I mean, you can take a cooler in, soft cooler, just no glass. So you can take cans of pop, cans of adult beverage, energy drinks, whatever you need, and have a great day.
We've got just a couple minutes for turn number 3, so I wanted to cover a couple of the big NASCAR news and notes that have been circulating around. Dirk, it's pretty apparent that silly season is in full swing, and that is never more apparent. We talked about it last weekend, the possibility that Furniture Row Racing could be moving to another team, could be selling their charter and their operation because of the loss of the 5-hour energy. They're missing 14 races on a 36-race schedule. That's a huge gap in their funding, and while you could easily say, Furniture Row, the furniture store, the Denver Mattress Company, they can support that team, not for 14 races. I mean, when Denver Mattress supported that team, because it's the owner owns the same companies, and when Furniture Row supported it before, I almost can guarantee you their 36 race operating budget wasn't near as much as what their 14 race budget was that 5-Hour Energy was covering. Now that they're a Cup Series champion, now that they have support from Toyota, now that they have a guy like Martin Truex Jr., and they've had quality drivers in that seat before, their bills are a lot higher because they're running at a higher level. And they're not going to be able to just fill that in with sponsorship from the owner's pocket.
Well, they can, and they will. Barney Visser has already said that. He said, we will run in 2019. After that, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But let's just face it, the guy's got a lot of money, and with the way stuff like the market is and stuff like that, he hasn't hurt himself, and he hasn't hurt, his company or the racing company, with their performance, winning a championship and everything. Mm-hmm. And, if he would run through, and if they pick up another championship this year, if he repeats, he will have some companies maybe not wanting to do all 14 races, but they might pick up 3 sponsors doing 5, 5, and 4 races. Mm-hmm. But if he picks up another championship, or at least makes it to Homestead, he'll have people knocking on the door wanting in.
You would absolutely hope so. The rumors, though, are swirling around that they were in negotiations with GMS Racing, who is an Xfinity Series and Truck Series team that has been exploring getting into the Cup Series over the last couple of years. We have a minor connection with GMS with Tom Ackerman. That is Lee Ackerman, who is one of the officials, one of the workers now retired out of I-80 Speedway and with Kaziski Auto Parts. Lee's son, Tom, was an engineer with GMS in the Truck Series and has been moving up in the series as they have too. So apparently Furniture Row Racing and GMS sat down and had a conversation. The conversation didn't really seem to go very far. So now the new rumor, after that kind of fell apart, is that Martin Truex Jr. will then shift to the 19 at Joe Gibbs Racing, which will put Daniel Suarez in the 95 at Leffler Racing. Not in Leffler Racing. Levine Family Racing. So there could be a big shuffling throughout the Cup Series as Toyota is kind of trying to keep, maybe Toyota's involved trying to keep Martin Truex Jr. as a Toyota driver, because I've also heard reports of him moving over to the 41 at Stewart-Haas Racing and becoming a Ford driver. Yeah,
I don't see any of that happening. If Truex is going to move away from Furniture Row, that's going to be in 2020. It's not going to be in 2019. Mm-hmm. I honestly believe that. Kurt Busch, you mentioned the 41 possibly being open. There's all kinds of rumors that he's got several offers, and he's just milling stuff over. I wouldn't be surprised if one of his offers isn't from the 95 team.
Yeah. And he did say, I don't know if you saw that post earlier today, yesterday afternoon, Kurt Busch did say that he has several offers on the table that he is considering for the 2019 season. So it's pretty apparent that ride, the 41 ride, is open. And this seems to be going a little bit farther than we went last year. Last year with the negotiations, we didn't hear about actual drivers being approached. Now we've heard Casey Kane being approached. I've heard Martin Truex Jr. being approached for that 41 ride. So who knows what's going on with that. But it does sound like it's more of a solid deal that Kurt Busch is out. But you never know. This could all be a negotiating tactic, which happens in the media all the time.
And you could see Cole Custer jump up into that 41. We've speculated on that now for 2 years, so that could also be the deal.
Absolutely. We got a lot more news and notes to get to, but we're gonna have to save it for next weekend, as we want to get you set for turn number 4 and get the final set for today's race at Darlington. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back in turn number 4.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
Today's live show on the front stretch brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales, located at 14227 S Street in Omaha. And they're opening up today at noon, unless they're underwater like most of Omaha is.
Yeah, they might still be underwater, but they're located at 14227.
Get your tracker boat today.
14227 S Street, just west of the amazing pizza machine out there. You can check out their inventory at archerpurdue.com. You can give them a call at 402-891-1100. They are they home of the original $149 a month payment.
Great deal over there at Archer Purdue Auto Sales. Give them a call today and get yourself set. There's nothing better than a vehicle that will get you from A to B and not cost you an arm and a leg.
Well, especially it's coming up, school started, so there's some school cars that need to be bought. And when you're coming up to winter, there's nothing worse than your car not starting. So make sure you're set up.
Amen. All right, so that's going to do it for, what am I talking about? Thanks to Archer Purdue Auto Sales for bringing us today's live show.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Turn number 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Make sure you get down to Quaker Steak and Lube this evening for the Darlington night race, the Southern 500, the Bojangles Southern 500.
Man, I wish we still had Bojangles around here.
I never get to have it, so I don't know. I don't even know what I'm missing out on.
Popeyes.
Okay. Fried chicken. I had Alpine Inn last week, so I'm pretty good on my fried chicken right now. Denny Hamlin picked up the win last year. Kyle Busch came home second. Kurt Busch in third. Austin Dillon fourth. Eric Jones rounded out your top 5. Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Jamie McMurray your top 10. Hey, just got a message on Facebook. Our buddy Chris Krug listening as he's heading over to the Boone Super Nationals. So since Chris was nice enough, I'll make sure to give a little bit of a plug. If you want to keep up to date with all of the Boone Super Nationals information and race results, you can download the My Race Pass app and get live scoring and timing available on there.
Yeah, and everybody, if you do have a little bit of free time this week, Boone runs every day through next weekend.
Well,
so, yeah.
Have you seen the forecast?
Yeah, but they've got boat races too, the
That's
IMCA
true.
boat class.
I hope Chris and a lot of people packed their
Chris
their
didn't.
rain suits. That's true. He's probably wearing sandals.
Chris is going to be going through the pits with a dollar bill wanting to buy an umbrella.
If he even has $1, poor kid.
He'll borrow it.
Yeah, well, I'm not around for him to borrow it. He has to borrow money from me. Anyway, so back to Darlington. Racing tonight. Racing is set to kick off. Coverage at 5 o'clock, racing at 6 o'clock. It's a huge day for the NASCAR, or for racing world. Not only do we have the RaceSaver Nationals night number 3 at Eagle Raceway, and twice as much action because it's going to kick off at 2 o'clock, but we also have I-80 Speedway just canceled, so that's going to do that. And thank you for pointing that out, Dirk. The text message service working out great for me, as I-80 Speedway's Championship Sunday has just been canceled, which is a heartbreaker because I really wanted to see that Sport Mod Championship come up.
I'm going to start my own relay service.
There you go. Just send me messages.
Hey, and if you're the big type of drag race fan, you got the U.S. Nationals this weekend, but most of that, I believe, runs tomorrow. But still, that is the biggest drag race yearly in the country. And the track there, if you've ever gone over to Indy, is out where the old IRP, their little 5/8 mile track, like where trucks and the Xfinity cars used to run. Mm-hmm. Right behind that is this drag strip, and I mean, it's just kind of sitting there, and you'll watch it on TV and go, wow, it's like a whole city. Well, and you go up there in the middle of the summer, and here's this little drag strip sitting there with nothing by it.
So that's going to do it for us today. We appreciate everybody joining us. If you haven't gotten your front stretch hat yet, you can find Dirk and I. We've got a couple of them left over. They're just $20. Really simple hats. I love mine. I'm actually onto my second one now because I wore the first one so much.
And hurry up and buy a hat, and we'll throw in a free koozie.
Absolutely. And once the hats are gone, we're going to order some stocking caps because apparently winter is here with the forecast coming up this week.
Hey, when you get back in the east, you go to North Carolina, they call a stocking cap a toboggan.
Really?
This guy was telling me if I was going to put a toboggan on my head, and I'm thinking of this big wood thing that you ride down a hill. What the hell would I do that for?
Darlington tonight at 5, Eagle Raceway today at 2. Make sure to keep your eye on the Front Stretch Facebook page. We'll keep you up to date with how the racing action is unfolding throughout the Midwest. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been the Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you white knuckle racing Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.